So here's Hegseth in 2022. Again, the ancient days of 2022, talking about the war in Ukraine.
Can we run that videotape? We got it this morning of the ship, the Russian ship, the naval ship being hit with a ballistic missile fired by the Ukraine. There you go. That must have sent one big message to Putin's navy. Because if you cop missiles like that, anti-ship missiles, I don't know how many the Ukrainians have got, but that is the writing's on the wall.
And they ought get more missiles like that,
Yes.
and we probably shouldn't tell the world about it. Do it quietly and let the results on the battlefield speak for themselves.
No.
More dead generals, more ships. If you think about 6 dead generals, they're saying reports are that there are more Russians or as many Russians killed in this month in this conflict as they lost in Afghanistan. That isn't ultimately sustainable. And so the longer this draws out at a stalemate, the closer we are to what you talked about, which is a Ukrainian win.
We are hearing that those kamikaze missiles, the hovering kamikaze missiles, they've not gotten through yet. I mean, what are
There
your
is some questions about the speed with which we're delivering these weapon systems and the why on that. Well, we've seen this Biden White House be slow on a lot of things. What would their reasoning or rationale be for being slow on weapons? I don't know. And that's a question for the Pentagon right now. Those should be, we can move the 82nd Airborne from Fort Bragg to Poland in 24 hours. We can move javelins and stingers and switchblades into that country quickly.
Okay, so that's Hegseth in 2022, after he allegedly had this great epiphany where he was no longer considering himself a neocon. Which, again, is not a word that I think has any meaning in the contemporary context, as we've been over. That's him saying that the Pentagon, the agency that he now wants to lead, ought to expedite and accelerate the provision of weaponry to Ukraine and do it secretly, conceal it from the world, which I would think includes American taxpayers who are underwriting the thing. And he also goes along with what people may forget now, but was the standard critique, and still to some degree is, among Republicans of the Biden administration, which is that they were too slow to arm Ukraine. They were insufficiently aggressive in arming Ukraine. Not that arming Ukraine might be a bad idea. That was a minority view, an extreme minority view. Hegseth is saying that the Biden administration is kind of is behind the curve in arming Ukraine to Hegseth's satisfaction. So if he claims to be a recovering neocon, whatever that might mean, like, wouldn't you expect that to have some influence over how he perceives an event like the war in Ukraine? Or not? Like, if it doesn't, then it really has just no meaning. And I'm going to give you another example of his inspiring commentary on the Ukraine war. I know I should do this more quickly, but I'm hey, you gotta bear it. Gotta just bear with me. I'm one man. I'm on an island.
One first big question. What's at stake?
What's at stake is repelling an authoritarian who basically is saying, I want the Soviet Union back. I want Ukraine back. I want Kiev back. And then what's at stake is making sure we don't allow it to become an Article 5 larger, broader war than that. So equipping and supplying Ukraine with what it needs faster than we have, and we haven't been doing it. The Biden administration has not been doing it fast enough so that they can further bog Putin down and push him back. It's going to be long. It's going to be bloody. But I think those are the stakes for the United States of America. I would encourage folks to go watch Who is Vladimir Putin on Fox Nation. It's great. It talks about how he views human nature. It's good. It's good. And it helps you get an understanding of how he views human nature and how he views his role in manipulating it and putting back the Soviet Union. When it comes to Ukraine, though, Harris, he's going to double down on the tactics he believes will bring civilians to their knees. You know why? He doesn't play by the rules of war. We call him a war criminal, and we do, and rightfully so. He doesn't care. Russia's not a signatory to the International Criminal Court. He doesn't feel any threat that he'll be held accountable. Ceasefires, you know what ceasefires are for him? An opportunity to reload, an opportunity to pick more targets. And he's already said, I mean, this is a precarious part for Zelensky, too. Zelensky did the right thing in saying, hey, any man in this country, stay here, pick up a rifle and fight. But in the twisted mind of Vladimir Putin, you know what that says? Every man in the country who was a civilian is now a military target. That means any civilian target could be a military target. And women and children that are there are human shields for the men who are carrying Kalashnikovs. Think about it through the psychology of him. So we talk about the targeting of civilians, and rightfully so. He's saying those are now military targets, and he hasn't done it to Kiev the way he's done it in other places like Mariupol. But I think we're going to see that coming because he's bogged down and is going to double down.
Okay, so if Pete Hegseth was really, as he claims, a recovering neocon in this period, would you expect a recovering neocon to be going on TV and saying stuff like Putin is trying to reconstitute the Soviet Union, we better accelerate our provision of arms to Ukraine? Would you say stuff like, ceasefire? What do you mean a ceasefire? That's, you know what a ceasefire is for Vladimir Putin? An opportunity to reload. We got to keep the war going, and we got to intensify and expand it. Is that something that a, quote, recovering neocon would say? Or is the recovering neocon conceit just totally vacuous and empty of any substantive meaning other than it's now basically obligatory for aspiring Republicans or ambitious Republicans to ascribe that label to themselves? You tell me. And we'll go to one more. And again, I'm playing this because like none of this, of course, is what's seen as controversial. Like these are not the sources of controversy for Hegseth. So here's another one. This is what Hegseth said. He encouraged the Fox viewers to go watch. He produced in that segment, he produced a whole Fox Nation special, which I tracked down because I do everything I can to please you people. And here's this very bold and rousing Fox Nation special that Hegseth produced.
Russia's war in Ukraine is unraveling at a rapid pace. Cruise missiles and columns of tanks, threats of nuclear war, and dire consequences. One question hangs over everything. What is Russian President Vladimir Putin capable of? And how far is he willing to go? This is the worst case scenario.
By the way, I love the dramatic orchestral arrangements. No segment, no Fox News special or Fox Nation special or on Putin would be complete without the anxiety-inducing orchestral arrangements. Yes, I did pay for Fox Nation. I paid for 1 month of Fox Nation. I think it was $7.99, just so I could comb through Hegseth's output.
The consequences of this war are still unfolding. And the future of not just Ukraine, but America and the Western world is in jeopardy. The actions taken today in Ukraine, in the halls of Europe, and in the White House will impact the cause of freedom for generations to come. We pray for peace, but plan for war. History shows us that peace only comes through strength, strength that is meant to deter war. But war has broken out, which is why we must consider the worst case scenario.
Okay. So, would a recovering neocon be spouting those grandiose platitudes about how, civilization itself is on the line in Ukraine, dramatizing the Ukraine war and imbuing it with this metaphysical, civilizational importance? I tend to doubt it.